Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Liberator, an arcade game played on the Evercade vs. console. It was released as part of the Evercade Atari Arcade 1 collection. This game was released in 1982 by Atari and was apparently based on the DC comic Atari Force, which was a comic book from DC that ran a few years. I kind of would have expected a title like this to last only an issue or two, but I guess this one ran through a total of 2 different series and had 25 issues or so. This is sort of a game that answers the question, what if they tried to evolve Missile Command? Or at least that's how it feels to me. In the arcade, the console uses a trackball and has a fire button and a shield button. I don't have use of the shield button down at all. But with the Evercade vs. console, we get a gamepad, so I think this one is probably a bit harder to control than it should be. Using a thumb directional to move the firing reticle around the screen, it's just not accurate. This game is like Missile Command, in that you are constantly shooting and trying to destroy something with your missiles. And the expanding explosion of your missiles is what stops most of the enemy fire or ships. In Missile Command, you are shooting upwards, trying to protect your cities from oncoming missiles. Here we're kind of doing the opposite. Instead, you are the one shooting down on a planet, and you're trying to destroy these missile bases before they launch their offensive to destroy you. There are 2 stage types that you play in this one, and that was actually a little bit of a surprise because in the early 80s, honestly, I would have expected them to break these stages into 2 completely separate games altogether. There's just more money in it, and they could have developed each individual stage just a little further, and I think it would have been pretty good. But the first stage, this is you looking at open space. You're shooting at ships that are flying across the screen, and obviously these ships are trying to get you. You personally have ships in each corner. If you look at the corners of the screen, that's you. And when you fire, this is where your missiles are going to originate, so shoot away and destroy whatever you can. The enemy ships will try to ram into your ships, and naturally you want to prevent that. I think this stage is okay in terms of gameplay. I guess it does warm you up a little bit to the main game stage, but they could have fleshed this one out further and probably made it its own separate game altogether. The main stage is you looking down on a colorful spinning planet. You have your 4 ships at the corners of the screen still, well, hopefully, and the planet is spinning in front of you, and you will see glowing missile bases on the surface. You need to destroy these bases as fast as you can. Eventually they're going to launch off the surface, and they will go into orbit and try to get to you. They're going to shoot a bunch of different offensive fire along the way, and you need to use your shields and your current offenses to destroy the dangers before they get to you. I think this is a pretty decent shift from the stagnant bases you would experience if you were playing the game Missile Command, so I think someone was really thinking with this one. There are plenty of visuals on screen, between the projectiles, the rising missile bases, and of course the spinning planet. It's not an easy game, but I guess it's pretty straightforward. The menu screen also lets you skip levels, and that makes you choose different planets, which is nice to have. The other levels, of course, are going to be harder, but they also look a little different. And having different looking planets for a game, even if it's just a change in the color scheme, I think this actually helps you want to play the game more. Monotony is a game killer, for sure, and the goal of a game like this is to try to keep you in a seat, dropping quarters into it. So anything they can add to make it a little less boring to sit in one place, that's what they're trying to do. Now, I am new to this one, and mostly I find it super interesting that they basically made an inverse of Missile Command. I mean, this isn't something I would want to sit down with and play forever, but it's certainly okay for a few gameplays. I also think I would probably feel really different about this one if there was a controller to match the game. The game was released with a trackball and buttons. I think a trackball would make a huge difference here, assuming it was a good trackball. There are different levels of control when you're sliding a reticle around on screen. With a trackball, it's more accurate for games like this. It would also benefit some other games as well if they had one. I don't know if Evercade has any plans of releasing additional controllers for the console, or if there's any sort of an aftermarket solution right now, but honestly, games like this, a better controller would make a gigantic difference in how this one is received. This game was also released in a few different anthology collections from Atari over the years. Windows had a version, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. They all had their own versions. I'm not sure if I have any one of those for my other consoles, but I suppose it may be worth looking at, because those systems do utilize different controllers. I'm kind of wondering if maybe an analog stick would be better suited to replicate the behavior of a trackball? Maybe? I don't know. It's probably worth a look anyway. Well, That's all I have today for Liberator for the Evercade versus console. If this is your type of video, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff, and thanks for watching. Hope to catch you on another video.